up, YouTube? Me being a content creator as always, I do video intros just for you guys. 1 million people in chat as always. One of the top most lit channels on Twitch. You know, follow the Twitch if you want. Today, I want to talk about the big topic. Capcom Cup and the groups. Right? $1 million for the winner and 1 million people in there. More people here than there will be at Capcom Cup. And today's goal is very simple. We had a group for Capcom Cup, a group draw, that I think pretty much everyone disliked. And what I would like to do today is not only to review how the groups went, but also suggest some solutions and ways to hopefully make CPT, I want to say quote unquote better, but you know, you tell me if you don't think that would be better. People on Twitch there will chat about all of this after. People on YouTube, put on the comments what you think. How do we fix that? You know? First thing first. Disclaimer. Strong disclaimer. What you're about to have in this video is an elitist as hell take. Do you know why? Because competition is elitist by default. If you want to be part of competition, you want to be elite. I don't want to hear people say, oh, this is elitist about the competition supposed to crown the best player on earth. Of course it's elitist. So yes, this is about to be elitist. If you hate elitism, go play in platinum ranks and have fun. We're about to talk about the best players on earth. Very important, because that's one of the things I see a lot. We love elitism, indeed, Kite. Indeed, Kite. It is. And it being elitism, we want to be able to design a cup that works perfectly given what we have at the moment. So here's my objective, right? At the moment, I think a lot of people agree that having random seeding puts a pretty strong RNG factor to the biggest tournament on earth, which feels a bit like there is a missed opportunity, right? Like basing the biggest tournament on earth on RNG is difficult, and that's exactly what happened, right? That ended up being exactly what happened with these groups, because Group F, shout out to Cat Kami, with Menardi, Kaba, Nero the Boxer, Leshar, Ending Walker, Angry Bird. Like, this group, considering the season that just happened, is technically unacceptable to have the two EVO grand finalists in the same group. The man who was top 4 everywhere with Menardi. You know, like, I think the only thing that's acceptable is Menardi and Kaba, because that's unfortunate, but they moved regions, so that happens. That's just being unlucky. The rest of it is extra unlucky, you know. That being said, we need to talk about how the current Capcom Cup is great for one thing. It really, really, really emphasizes the fact that everyone can enter. And that's actually good, right? The fact that everyone can enter Capcom Cup, can enter the competition for Capcom Cup, is what we need to keep. The thing for me that I want to solve is I want to figure out how do we make a world final that first gives you the best players on earth and the highest level of competition, and second also keeps the equal opportunities where everyone can actually enter and have a chance to go to Capcom Cup. Alright? That's the thing. Because indeed, KC, that's one of the things, it gatekeeps competition. Right? If we talk about the current format issues, obviously these groups show that there are issues. Right? But it's not even just these issues. It's the fact that every region having, that's something we've talked about for a while, right? Every region having the same amount of people doesn't make sense, because CPT Japan had 900 people online for CPT Premier. Other regions had 70. How do you have the same amount of people in these two regions? You know, that's like, first off, that doesn't make sense. And second off, to me, what I don't like is it's actively punishing you for being part of a good region. It's like, oh, you were born in Japan? Sorry, bro. Simply win the tournament with Bonchan, Tokido, Hibiki, Daigo, Kakeru, Gachikun, Moke, Itazan, Gunfight. I don't know. Just win this. You know, you're literally telling, I'm sorry, guys, your region likes the game too much. We can't have you in. You know, it's not good. If you take an example, World Cup, Olympics, any worldwide competition, they give weights to every region. So, Football World Cup, you have way more European teams than Asian teams. Why? Because European teams are the higher level teams. So you have about like 15 European teams and maybe 5 or 6 Asian teams. Because the 5 or 6 Asian teams that qualify, you know, Japan gets to round of 16. That's about it. South Korea as well. Everyone else, like, very difficult. So, you know, it's a bit of the... it's one of the solutions in there. Fixing these groups with seeding makes it difficult because there is no objective way to seed considering this year's format. How do you objectively seed people who won tournaments from different regions? They have never met, right? One of them played just in France. The other one played just in South Africa. The other one plays just in Argentina. How do you compare them? You can't. There is no direct data to seed them, so by default it creates something random. And that's one weakness to me of the system, which is it doesn't really give you a way to have quote-unquote fair seeding. The fairest seeding you could do is weigh the offline at the max, obviously, because I think winning the 7,000 person Evo is infinitely harder than winning any of the regions, Japan included. And, you know, Angry Bird winning Evo and being rewarded by a group harder than someone who won much smaller brackets is mad, you know. I think it's this, and then you can put a weight on regions depending on how many people are in each region. You know, that's pretty much the best ways, but that still creates a lot of problems. All right. So the problem of this is there is no way to seed, which makes me go to the next one. How do we bring back the point system and make it work? Preemptive option select before anything. And I'm really like putting this in a box. Every time in my life that I have mentioned that I want more offline, people have answered, oh, you must hate online. No! That's not the case. I love online. Keep online on. Give a chance to people, but also put more offline. One can live with the other, you know, like putting more offline doesn't mean scrap online. Putting more offline doesn't mean kick people out of the competition. You know, that's absolutely not what you need to do. You know, there are plenty of ways to get representation, but to me, the main objective of a cup, representation is great, but genuinely, objectively, never take representation over competition. Never ever take representation over competition. You can take representation over competition if the goal of your event is being a World Cup where everyone represents their country. That's fine. In this case, yes, of course, there's going to be only one American player because it's everyone represents the country, right? But in the case of $1 million for the winner and looking to crown the best player on Earth, if you put a priority to representation, there is a chance you might just not crown the best player on Earth. You know, it's not the Capcom bully stream. We don't bully out there, Pingu Tower. We suggest solutions. We do productive suggestions. You know? So, what I want for me at Capcom Cup, I want Capcom Cup to be the highest level, the pinnacle of Street Fighter. Because Capcom Cup is the pinnacle of Street Fighter. And these groups, no disrespect obviously, for me it's just an objective statement. These groups are not the pinnacle of Street Fighter. There are so many incredible players that did not make it to this group that it's not creating the pinnacle of Street Fighter at all. It's unfortunate, it's the observation. It's going to be a great tournament, it's going to be fun to watch, but it's not going to be the pinnacle, you know, of Street Fighter. Alright? To get the highest level while keeping representation, I think the first thing to do is to just look at how the previous CPTs were working, right? Previous CPTs, for those of you guys who might have not followed Street Fighter for a while, had multiple events that gave you points, and then it's simple, the highest ranked players in these leaderboards would be qualified. There would also be regional qualifiers to make sure that each region has one person, like American finals, South American finals, European finals, Asian finals. And there would be a very small online component, which I think today should be bigger because online is ridiculous, right? These had plus and minus, right? If we took, I actually prepared this, yes. This was how the points used to work. You had Super Premiers, which was basically Evo, with a ton of points. premieres, and then ranking. Ranking was pretty much a like big community event, right? So you had an incentive to travel even to community events and create a community that goes around, right? That creates a narrative about the game. The good thing about this format is that it creates a circuit where people travel to events. So it creates narrative where people meet. Because I think, to me, the biggest unfortunate part of this year's Capcom Cup is there is no narrative. What's Fudo? What's Gachikun doing? He's just good. That's it. Gachikun description, good player. I don't have a wow, he lost in a nail-biting set to like Angry Birds at Evo. No. I just have Gachikun won one event and he's there. So it already like limits a bit of how you can make this exciting, which is unfortunate. And it also limits the amount of people who get there. Now I already see you coming with the whole, oh, but if it's only offline, this is closing to the people who can travel. And you should not. You should be able to give this to everyone. Which is why you should be able to reach an offline-online blend. Because if you look at the current Capcom Cup format, right? The current Capcom Cup format, I would like to see the Capcom Pro Tour format on Wikipedia. So we have 3 offline premieres and 1 last chance qualifier, which are offline. That's 4. And 44 players who are qualified through closed regional online events. Right? It's extremely bubble after bubble. And then the idea is to make these bubbles culminate into Capcom Cup. But by making this happen, you have an entire season of online that is like not that interesting because you're just waiting for Capcom Cup to happen. You watch your region, right? One thing I love about this format, World Warrior. World Warrior is a great format, right? World Warrior gives a chance to all of the people from these regions to exist. So by the way, just saying about World Warrior, right? In World Warrior, there is worlds. Africa is a bit bigger than South Africa, you know? Like, please add North Africa and Central Africa to World Warrior. Like, people play Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia. People are playing. Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, people are playing. You know, like, you need to add these regions to World Warrior. Because these regions feel shafted. I'm Moroccan. I know all the Moroccan guys. They're like, why can't we play, man? Like, why? You know? Like, Egypt has players, yes. Shouts to Lord STB. You know? But they can't play because, unfortunately, I'm sorry, you're from a country we didn't put on our system. World Warrior is amazing because World Warrior gives you a chance to get straight to Capcom Cup, right? But to me, it creates 2 problems. First problem is, if World Warrior exists, why do premieres exist? Like, why would you have a system that needs 5 brackets into finals to qualify, but another system that's just win 1 bracket? That makes no sense. Right? The whole premiere system makes no sense to me. And for me, in the case of crowning the best player, especially in a game like Street Fighter 6, which is seen as volatile, you should not just give the winner something, right? World War is good because it's a serious tournament. It creates narrative. I completely agree with this. It builds expectation in the finals. The only thing I would personally do to World Warrior, the only thing I would personally do about World Warrior is I would first do something to limit the whole system, because the current system requires you to grind all 5 brackets, but then your result in brackets doesn't really matter because it's only the finals day. And once again, it doesn't reward consistency, you know? I think, to me, World Warrior, a good thing to do is you keep these 5 qualifiers, and you do something like, if you win a qualifier, you go straight to finals. That's 5 qualified players. And the next 3 are the top 3 in points. That way, if you won a bracket, you're done. You don't need to do World Warrior anymore. You wait for finals. If you didn't win a bracket, you grind to be consistent and get to World Warrior. I like the idea. That way, the final 8 that we have are potentially the most optimal 8s. You know, that you could have. And offline finals for World Warrior would be ideal. Shouts to Spain and UK, who are the only ones. On this, because that's like how you need to do this. Because the thing I don't like in World Warrior is, UK example, Andy Walker won every single of the World Warriors he entered? What if he lost the World Warrior finals? That would have been horrible, right? What if it's one day where it's a day off? Well, sorry, bro, you won 5 events, but that's the one you should have won, not the ones previously. Should have just won. Skill issue, indeed. It's the rules. It's that he should have won. But that's how you limit this, right? So to me, first of all, keep World Warrior. World Warrior is an amazing system. Potentially play a bit around with the regions, because I don't know, like, I feel like you should be able to merge part of Canada and US. You should be able to merge some of these regions, you know, to make it a bit more interesting. Because you have to know something about World Warrior, which is as great as it is. Most people don't really watch World Warrior. Be honest, chat. Which one of you watched the South America West World Warrior? Just tell me if you watched it. I did not. I only watched the results. I did not watch the tournament. You know? Yeah, because that's a lot. But I'm actually fine with this, because I don't think World Warrior is designed to be watched. It's designed to create a community. You know? It's designed to be like, oh, guys from South America West, you have this thing to work for. You know? And that's what it does great, and that's amazing. Because it creates a South American bubble that's gonna work together to send a player, right, to Capcom Cup. You watch your region, exactly. What did I watch? I watched Japan, I watched Middle East, I watched France, UK, Spain. I'm trying to think. I think that's about it that I watched live. US East. Everything else I just like watched from a distance, because you can't watch everything, it's too much. You know, shout out to Logan for doing the roundups as well. That used to help a lot. So I'm fine with this, right? But now that we've sorted World Warrior, we need to talk about premieres. At the moment, there are like 26, I believe, premieres. Let me see. No, 26 World Warrior, 18 online premieres. Simple. Remove online premieres. Make them offline premieres. Done. That's the easiest way. That's like the easiest step 1. No more online premieres. You know, like 26 World Warrior is a lot. I want to change something about the World Warrior, but I'm getting to it because I think it requires to make it work. But before going to this, I want to address something. A lot of people think that World Warriors are the best way to build a community, and honestly, I disagree. And I have examples to show you for this, right? When you do World Warrior, you are making a bubble that's playing in, say, South America West or South Africa or Europe Northeast that no one else really watches. And this bubble will send a player. And if this player happens to be amazing, that's great. He'll do well at Capcom Cup. If this player happens to be mid, he'll get punched up at Capcom Cup. And I objectively don't see what it achieved for that community. Outside of cool, you had a guy, he went in pools, he went 0-5. Whatever. And I don't like this because even this is not even putting respect on the player, because you're sending him to the guillotine. You're like, go die. Like, go there. Like, you're gonna get punched up. That's fine. But you represent it. That's cool. For me, I think bringing an offline premiere to their region is infinitely better. And I'm talking out of experience. When you live... I'm gonna give my example, right? I'm from Nice. Nice is not a big city in France. In France, most events are in Paris. If you're not in Paris, you don't really get to do anything super out of the ordinary, because when an international event happens, it goes to Paris by default. Back then, there was an event called World Game Cup, which was in Cannes, which is right next to Nice. Eventually was called Cannes Winter Clash. And this event was 20 minutes away from where I lived and had Daigo and Fudo attending. And I was there just like casually playing Street Fighter 4, going to this game festival and seeing guys who everyone say are legends playing. And I'm like, hold up, if I enter this tournament, I can actually play with these guys? That's infinitely better than, hey, here is an online thing where you're going to play the same players all the time. And the same guy is going to win anyway because Valmaster is too good in France. You're not going to beat Valmaster. Thank you, send Valmaster. I don't think this builds the community. What builds it is bringing players. Someone in the chat earlier mentioned we wouldn't have known jabhi if he didn't beat Tokido at Red Bull Kumite. What was that? Offline. And do you know what jabhiM won this day? jabhiM won props. Because now if you see jabhiM sitting down and play, you're like, oh, that's the guy who beat Tokido. He has an accolade. He has an identity. Now you know him. If Red Bull Kumite did not happen, you would just be like, oh, jabhiM, that's the guy who won South Africa. I don't know this region. I don't care about this region, whatever. So you basically don't really care about him because there is no storyline behind him. That's why offline events are cool. And I'm gonna give you like, have like simple example. Let me tell you. Let's go on YouTube. Let's go on YouTube. Yeah. Do you guys know about Breno Fighters? Do you guys know about this guy? Yeah. That was what, Super Street Fighter 4 11 years ago. That was the grand finals of the Brazil qualifier. Tokido, SF4 Tokido, like maybe 6 people on earth could beat him. And this guy on the right is named Breno Fighters. No one knows who this guy is. If you're not in Brazil, you have never heard of this guy. You have no idea who this guy is, right? And this guy plays a 20 minutes long set against the best Akuma on earth and puts an insane amount of pressure on Tokido. All the way. All the way. Let's go to the final game. Let's go to the final game. Yeah, like let's watch final game. All the way to 2-2 in grand finals. No one knows who this guy is. And he's currently in the process of punching Tokido up. Tokido being a guy that when he enters a tournament, he wins the tournament. You know? This is how you give an opportunity to players to shine. You bring Tokido to Brazil and you give them either a reality check, like, yeah, actually worldwide level is way too good, or you show them that they can hang. Right? Look at the crowd behind. Look at how absolutely well. Look at how Breno was like, chill, I got this. These images, I watched this live, man. I will never forget this match. Because this is the narrative that offline brings to the competition. It creates legends, it creates storylines, and it actually gives you a chance to discover players in the best way.
Oh my god.
Because this guy, Breno Fighters, came out in this Brazil event. He could not travel outside of Brazil.
Oh no.
Right? But he could travel to Brazil. And there it is. That is a guy no one knew beating Tokido in grand finals. Do you know what happens when this happens? Now everyone knows who Breno Fighters is. Like, now the entire world of Street Fighter knows that there's a Brazilian guy who's sick. And that's what you need. Funny enough, the other example is actually from Brazil as well. Like, Keoma. Keoma Sako, I think, was the match. Like, same thing, 2013. 2013, there's a match there. This guy named Keoma. He plays Abel. No one played Abel back then. Like, Abel was considered very low tier. And Keoma is there, giving a run for their money to Sako and Ryan Hart, who back then were some of the absolute top players. This is how you create a legend. Do you know what happened after this? Keoma started traveling, and look, if I type Keoma, you get plenty of stuff. You get Keoma vs Snake Eyes at Capcom Cup. Keoma got top 8 of Capcom Cup. Right? But do you know what was the best about Keoma? He broke out onto the scene as a killer. He broke out onto the scene as a person who almost beat Sako and almost beat Ryan Hart and gave the highest level of play. So when you watched Keoma coming, you'd be like, ooh, that's Keoma. That's the guy. You know, that's the guy who beat Sako last time, yeah? I'm looking forward to watch him. And look, you could see, like, after he bursted, yeah, Itabashi played Haitani, played so many ridiculous matches. You know, this is how you introduce a player. By putting an offline in Brazil and creating a format that gives an incentive to the players to go to Brazil. You know? Didi Mocov vs Kazunoko was insane, same. What was the name of the other? Choo from Brazil as well. I could give you plenty of examples. I don't know, like Popi Infiltration DreamHack. Yeah? DreamHack Grand Finals. Infiltration, unbeatable. No one beats Infiltration. This guy gets to Grand Final against someone people don't know whose name, Popi, and loses 3-0. No one knew who Popi was. But then after this, you know who Popi is because, you know, he's sick. And there are established events in all of these regions that could be tour events. By doing this, you're actually, like, when we talk about growing community, I don't understand how people are telling me that an online is growing a community when communities exist and are actively working, you know? And pop-up mods, they are 10 times better in offline. They are. Dash up DP, yeah, there's so many of these crazy mods offline. That's why offline is so important. It creates these moments. By the way, this is 10 years ago, yeah? Let me show you something, guys. Please tell me. I know Logan was on commentary. Please. Oh my god. Look at Logan 10 years ago. Does this man age? That was 10 years ago. Vampire ass indeed, Cola. And what is his secret? The only thing that changed is his shoulder width. That's all. That's the only thing that changed. Shout out to Logan, man. But you see what my point is about offline? Like, offline actually carries communities, right? And yes, I know. I'm saying it because I know some people might, you know, jump on me. I know that going to offline is a privilege. It means having money to travel. You know, it means being able to go. I know. But here is my counterpoint. If you don't have money to go to events, why is your life fight to stop other people from going to events? Focus on online if you can't go to offline. And let people who can go offline, go offline. You know, like, why is your position... Why is your position, oh, we must stop online offline because it's only for people who have money? Well, cool, they can play too, bro. They're human. You know, it's a bit weird. There is a word I hate that I've seen so much, which is privileged players. Because people are acting like having money makes you good. Like, suddenly, I'm a billionaire, cool, I'm gonna be better than Mena RD because I'm rich. No. There's an insane amount of work being put to reach that level. You know? Being able to travel is a privilege. Being good is not a right. Being good is a grind. Being good is people who are working. So people need to stop talking about, you know, about privilege. So for me, I think the best way to solve Capcom Cup or Capcom Pro Tour is to bring back a format like the old Capcom Pro Tour, which is points, that goes offline. With a top, I don't know how many players Capcom would put. Do they want to still keep 48 players? They want less than 32? Whatever, you know. But have a set amount of players, like a top X, go through this. This way, you have an amazing yearly competition where all of the best privileged, yes, players are traveling. I don't know about you guys, I love sports, right? Novak Djokovic is freaking privileged, but damn, I'm glad he's in tennis because he makes tennis hype. You know what I mean? Like, Lewis Hamilton is privileged as hell. I'm glad he's in Formula 1. It's part of the... It's unfortunate life of sports, but I'm not gonna gatekeep people because they're from certain places or anything. Anyone can play, anyone can join. You know? And I think the solution to me is to have an offline circuit that gives plenty of points and that gives you enough incentive to travel. But then remember that if this happens, it creates another problem, right? If this is the new format, I don't think World Warrior should be the same thing as now. And the reason is simple. Winning World Warrior in your region, honestly, no matter the region, is infinitely easier than grinding major events for points offline. Right? And I think that would be horrible. I think in a World Tour, going to the final spots of the World Tour should be equally hard on each side. It should be equal opportunities, but also equally hard. Right? So the first thing is to have offline tiers, which are, I think, is great. Super Premier, Premier ranking. Capcom Pro Tour 2019 was ridiculous, right? And if you look, I have the, these are the rankings from 2019. Name one, find one name that shouldn't be there. Punk, Bonchan, Tokido, Fudo, Hot Dog, Fujimura, Big Bird, Problem X, Momochi, Phenom, Knuckledu, Oil King, Xian, Mago, Gachikun, Machabo, Angbird. All of these guys are ridiculous. There is not a single person there who is like, oh, this guy should not be there. No. You know? Because these guys are the best. Like, these guys are actually the best, periods. And this creates a seeding, because Punk being the first will play against the last. That's it. It just makes it fair this way. It naturally creates seeding. And sure, there are 16 Japanese players, but skill issue. If all of the Japanese players travel and they win the tournament, it's... well, they're too good. You know what I mean? What can I say on this? So, because this creates a bit of a discrepancy between online and offline, the way I would actually solve it, I really like what Red Bull Kumite is doing right now with the planes. I don't know if you guys followed. So, what Red Bull Kumite is doing is they have the Red Bull Kumite New York. There are 14 players who are invited. There is one that's going to be LCQ. And then they have a play-in, which is people who qualified online. And I actually kind of like that idea. The idea that World Warrior would make you enter another bracket at Capcom Cup to then access Capcom Cup. You know? Because that way, any region, no matter where you're from, you will fly to Capcom Cup. But you still have one more step to get to Capcom Cup. And objectively, this would create a world where the best player is at Capcom Cup, period. Because if you have 26 regions from World Warriors and you send all of them at Capcom Cup and you make them play, I don't know how many people, you could make a full bracket and have top 2 going through. You could make different groups and have top 1 of each group going through Capcom Cup. But you need to create something where like playoffs, where regions are fighting each other to get to Capcom Cup. And I think this is absolutely insanely optimal, because then you get to the point where you have a Capcom Cup that is people who qualified offline through the highest level of play, through crazy storylines as well. So we had an amazing one. To me, like this year, something I really missed in Street Fighter 6 is I felt like there was no storyline. You know, once Evo was done, I was like, what's next? I don't know. Like, I don't know what's next after Evo. Like back then, back on SF4, Combo Breaker is finished, CEO. CEO is finished, versus fighting. Versus fighting is finished, Evo. Evo is finished, UFA. Like, there's always a stop where everyone's gonna meet and play, and it's gonna be hyped to watch. And I think that's what I hope comes back in some way, shape, or form. You know, the Mena Angry Birds storyline was the only one. And it's not even a big storyline because they only met at Evo and Gamers 8. Like, that's all. Then Mena grinded by himself because Angry Bird didn't need to grind anymore. And now they're in the same pool. So, I don't know what you guys think of this approach, but I think that having a tour that is offline points, so you are incentivized to travel, and a World Warrior that gives you access to a play-in, and not straight access to Capcom Cup, I think is the best way to have best competition on Earth at Capcom Cup, and also representation for everyone. Because yes, representation is important. Because yes, there might be an Arslan Ash hiding in Nigeria, I don't know. You know, it's all of this. And there is one last point I need to make sure I address, because there is a very common topic about how the former format required you to travel too much. And I have a very simple counterpoint to this, which is we're going to look at Capcom Cup 2019. Quick pop quiz chat. Who won Capcom Cup 2019? Quick. Show me how nerds you are. Indeed. It's iDub. Eric is not... Yeah, it's iDub. Alright? Let's take a look at how many points. So, if we look at the points, right? Punk, 4.8k points. This guy traveled. Was doing his best. Bonchan, 4k. Tokido, 3k. These guys traveled. Yeah? Where is iDub? iDub, 935 points. Alright? Can we see his result for 19? Are they still there? Yeah. Like, iDub's like iDom's run in terms of traveling was, what did he do this year to go out of New York? He went to Combo Breaker, he went to CEO, yeah, and he went to First Attack. That's it. Everything else was near New York. So that was not traveling. iDom getting 900 points. If you look at the leaderboards, winning a Super Premier is 1,000 points. Winning a Premier is 700 points. If you look at the last player qualified in this ranking, that's like Smog and Mena with 685. That literally means if you win one Premier, you're actually qualified. So when people tell you that this format forces you to travel, that's actually not true. Because if you won one Premier, you were pretty much extremely safe and you just had to do rankings on the side. You know? I do like global and regional points. But it's really funny that the main criticism from people about this format is that you need to travel a lot. And that's objectively not true, because literally looking at the point, it shows that winning a Premier and then playing rankings, which are the tournaments that are where you live, is enough. You know? You could definitely make like Tekken and cap how many points you can earn. You know, that's actually a good idea. Cherokee Circle. I actually like the way Tekken does on this, which is I think it's the four best performances. So that's why you pick your fights. And you know what ends up happening there? That's even a bigger win, because if you cap how many points you can earn at events, players will aim at the events that they believe are easy. So sponsored players are not going to waste their budget going to Combo Breaker where everyone is. They're going to go to South Africa. They're going to go to Brazil. They're going to go to regions that they perceive as being worse. And they are going to make these events infinitely better and grow the local community much better. You know? So maybe this. But it's true that the flip side of this is that it makes normal events dry indeed, because then people are just traveling like for other reasons. But that's like, for me, that's pretty much how I would solve Capcom Cup. I would just make this kind of format. And I want to know, let me know in chat, what do you think about a format like this? Do you think I got something, or do you think I'm actually just wasting my time with a terrible idea? Because I love competition. Competition is my life. And I really want the competition to be fair and to enable the highest level of competition. And I think we as a community should voice this, but in a good way. I hate when players like, these groups are shit. Like, tell me why you don't like these groups. Explain. You know, but like, give something a bit deeper than I don't like these groups. You know? But of course, you do need someone to hear. The people on YouTube, like, subscribe, come on Twitch. The people on Twitch, let's talk.